Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Practical Guitarist or on Twitter as @PracGuitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com. So, a brief aside, before we embark on this episode, I'd like to take a moment to address something that came up during the episode, and I think may have been handled a little less factually than I liked. And that is we talk about the neural quad cortex processing device for guitar, which is a sophisticated modeling apparatus that has been announced by Neural DSP. To our knowledge, this particular item actually does not exist yet, other than a handful of prototypes that were shown at NAMM. When I recorded the episode, I didn't know that those prototypes existed. And that was mostly because I hadn't been looking directly at the coverage for this particular product. After the discussion, actually the following day, I took a step back and I watched some of the video. But I still want to keep the argument intact, so I'm not actually going to edit it very heavily. More or less, I just want to provide a little aside to let people know that the facts are all there. And so that you guys are better prepared to understand what's going on. The reason I want to leave it intact is because the core of the argument essentially is that people are putting down money on a product that doesn't exist yet. A prototype is not a finished product, and the prototype they had is very limited. It only had a couple of models of amplifiers, and it only had a couple of effects built in. In fact, I think I heard them say they told the Andertons that it actually only has one delay, and that the unit is actually not completed yet, obviously. And that they're hoping to have the first order available for delivery in September. Basically, we just wanted to make sure that people are, kind of cognizant of the software industry's propensity for releasing products before they're released. In the sense that we've seen this in the gaming industry already, but we've also seen this in other industries where they will often do a sale for a beta or alpha product. Which ultimately doesn't wind up being the finished product that you get. And so, please take the time, listen to the episode. I hope you enjoy it. And just realize that some of those statements may be a little bit erroneous. Jim and I don't go to NAMM, and that's part of the issue. We will probably go next year, but we're getting a lot of this coverage post the event by watching channels like Andertons, That Pedal Show, and basically anybody else who goes to NAMM. So just, be aware that this is all in good fun. It's infotainment, and sometimes we make mistakes. So enjoy the show.
Hello, David.
Hi, Jim.
How are you doing today?
Well, other than buying a car that already needs a recall, I'm doing pretty good.
That's why you got such a great discount. It's like buying a guitar and it's got a bad outfit.
I got a discount.
Oh, remind me of that.
They had at least 2 or 3 other cars that were. So I bought a Ford Escape, right? And I bought it gear hauler, basically. That was the main reason. But I knew I had a budget, right? So it's kind of like looking around. I could have bought a CRV, but I would have had a higher payment, and we're trying to save money and everything. So I go to CarMax and I get an Escape. But the funny part about the whole situation was like I found one that was completely loaded, for a stupid price, and even for CarMax. And I got to the dealer, and the lady who sold me the car, she looks at the deal, and she actually looks at the tag while we're driving it, and she goes, "What do you mean this is only this much?" And I just started cracking up. I was like, no, you can't say nothing now.
No.
She's like, no. She's like, I can't anyway. She's like, I'm not allowed to price the car.
No.
And she goes, we've got 3 others just like this one, and they're like at least $2,000 more.
Wow.
So she's like, I don't know why this one's priced this way. Yeah. But come to find out, all of the Escapes between 2016 and 2019 are having an electrical problem.
Right.
That cannot be defeated by default. So the auto start on and off, it's automatically on. And you have to turn it off every time you get in the car. And the reason for that is, the reason why this is a problem is if you stop at a stoplight and your battery's slightly weak or anything like that, it'll make you put the car in park and then hit the ignition. I've had this happen twice since I've owned the car since Friday. And so, we've just been hitting the auto start off every time we get in the car. Now, there is a little module you can buy to put in the ECM. It's like $100.
Yeah.
And it will save it as a preset. So I will be safe, folks, just not yet.
Well, what doesn't make sense is, so obviously anybody who writes software for this type of thing, it's a little piece of code. Yeah. All they got to do is fix the tolerance for the battery. That's number one. Yeah. But number two, if the car's not going to start, so my car does that too. It's a hybrid. It works differently. Dave and I were talking about that in the beginning. We both know that. But the fact is that still my car stops and shuts down the engine at a light or whatever, whenever I press the gas long enough. And then it resets the motor when I let off the brake. So it does that in a similar fashion, but mine has a smart thing that says, "Oh, if you don't have enough juice yet, don't do that. Don't shut the motor off. Then you don't have to worry about shutting the motor on."
I have a feeling if they put that kind of logic in there, the motor would just continue to run when you're sitting in the light.
Which would be the most logical thing to do.
It would never shut off.
I'd just turn that off. I'd find the if-and statement.
Well, yeah, that's right. And there are people that have done that already. Like there's a bunch of people who've like flashed their car with hacked BIOS or hacked flash and it doesn't. But the easiest way to do it, because if you take it in, then you probably voided your warranty if you have any. I have like 5,000 miles worth of left warranty on it. If that, I think I have 50,000 on the powertrain. But anyway, it was funny because I was like, well, you can just put this ECM thing in there and it'll turn it into a preset. Or the other thought I had was pull the button out and just wire a jumper across it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you take it in for service, they're going to see that.
Yeah, but then you go, oh, wait, I got to pull that out.
Yeah, you pull it out before you take it in for service. I know.
Yeah. So I'm sure if you ask Adam Savage, you can find a way.
Yeah, I'm sure. Man, there's been a lot of stuff that happened this week. We got NAMM happened.
So I want to talk a little bit about NAMM because I want to talk about.
I got a lot to talk about NAMM. So go ahead.
So first thing I want to talk about is how NAMM makes me feel on a couple of levels. But I want to start in the first level. I said this last year. I'm gonna repeat it, but I'm gonna kind of back it up a little bit differently because last year I think I sounded like a bitter old man, which I probably am, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, I think we both are at this point.
Yeah, you're coming up there. So you're my young enough to be my bitter old son, and I'm the bitter old grandpa now. Which scares me because I could have a grandchild as old as yours. Anyway, so the thing that I was getting at is NAMM to me. I don't think NAMM has the same use. So I was watching some old clips because I was thinking, why did this whole thing and this artist thing and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And that's where we're segueing. And I'm like, was there ever a time when artists couldn't go to NAMM? The answer is yes, there was. And so in the beginning, NAMM was like any other trade show. It was meant for the companies that build stuff to get stuff to the companies that buy stuff. Okay. There were no artists. They didn't have, look at, Jimmy Joe Jim Bob flying through scales at our booth. or
well, even when the artists were banned, if you did have an endorsement deal, you probably would, because it's like Les Paul, for example, was there,
but Les Paul was part
up
of the
until
design.
the SG.
Yeah, well, yeah. So we could talk about the history of the SG and why his name was taken off, and memory starts to fade as they get older. So the interviews definitely changed over time. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about is I'm not so sure. Like, I watched NAMM and I was like, okay, that was leaked already. We already knew about that. Okay, what did I not know that was like, ta-da, NAMM?
I saw a couple things. I saw a couple things.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple things. Yeah.
Well, so there's the new AMP-1X, which is not going to be out until next year.
Right.
Which is a pretty sophisticated piece of equipment. There's a lot of controversy surrounding Thomas Blue right now. If you haven't picked up, I've heard some people. One person in particular reached out to me and said you should talk about this on the show. They did not want their name revealed. It's a sensitive issue, but they were basically saying, like, if you read the marketing literature for the AMP-1, the new one, the AMP-1X, he talks about the neuron or something, the neural network of whatever he's got going on in there, to make that thing work. And he's basically insinuating that he's borrowing copy, meaning like terminology and buzzwords from that neural DSP, and that he's trying to piggyback on the search results and all that stuff from neural DSP.
Okay.
Which, given the Iridium and the Strymon Iridium. Now, granted, his product was announced long before the Strymon Iridium showed up, but you don't know how clued in he was. Maybe somebody behind the scenes knew that the Iridium was coming, and they kind of tipped him off. Or maybe he's got a marketing firm that's doing this stuff for him, and they're just looking at what other people are doing, and maybe they're clued into the industry. Who knows?
Having spoken with Thomas, we both spoke with Thomas. I just think he's a nerdy guy who comes up with ideas.
I don't think he's really paying attention to other people.
I was just going to say, he seems like the kind of guy who spends more time watching Star Wars or Star Trek or something like that. In other words, or reading literally.
I was going to say reading technical manuals.
Literally reading technical manuals. I think he spends more time. He would be more likely to watch Adam Savage's One Day Builds than to give a crap. Honestly.
Well, look at this.
Sweet crap about what anybody else.
Look at the stuff he was designing when he was over at H&K, right?
Right.
He's going completely against the trends of the industry.
That's
Everybody else is playing 100-watt heads and half stacks. He makes the red box, right? Everybody else is playing or is going to small amps, right? In the early part of the 2000s, he builds the tri-amp. I mean, this guy is not paying attention to what other people are doing, and I don't think he cares.
Yeah, exactly. It's not because I think it's his ego. I don't think it's that. I think what it is, it's just his personality. We both have talked to him enough. Honestly, that long conversation that we had with him, I think it was very revealing. He was just like a little kid. Look at my toy.
He was super excited and was showing off,
Yeah, he was like a little kid. If you walk into the house, where like I can imagine this if it was a grandson I had. Dad or Grandpa, come here, look at this. So and so got me this. I was able to do this. Let me show you this riff I learned. And then they go from showing me the riff they learned to showing me what kind of their favorite spaghetti is to showing me, and that was Thomas Blue. I mean, he was so scatterbrained.
Yeah,
in a good way. Don't get me wrong.
Very eccentric genius, eccentric genius kind of thing. And honestly, if we were going to characterize NAMM into like one set of things that dominated NAMM this year, pedal board amps.
Yeah,
small pedal amp configurations. We saw one from Orange. We saw one. We of course know about AMP-1. That's been a thing for a while. We saw that kind of stuff from everybody else too. It was not a shock. There were a couple of products that I saw that I was like, I'm not really sure why this has to exist. The Neural DSP one is one that kind of freaks me out, but not for that reason. Yeah. So they've got their amp in a box, modeler device thing that's going to compete with Helix and the Axe effects, and allegedly is going to compete with the Kemper, and we'll get into that in a minute. With the same feature set as all these different devices, and they had a beta version of it, but it's not finalized. They're taking orders for this thing, $750 a piece, and they don't exist yet.
They don't have a product.
They don't actually have a product. They have software. That's what they have.
Yeah, I want to go to that real quick. So Christoph Kemper, we talked about that last year.
Yep.
I want to talk about the exact opposite of that. There's two companies, Kemper and, believe it or not, Marshall, who said, you know what, we're not going to talk about, we're not going to release, we're not going to take orders, we're not even going to until it's ready. Christoph Kemper, last year, he had that.
He had that.
But he wasn't ready. He was not ready for that, for that speaker that he showed this year. That is it.
That speaker is incredible, by the way. Did you see that thing? It's 2 speakers in one housing.
So that is an engineering piece of audio engineering genius, right?
Yeah, him and Celestian.
He could have last year gone, you know what, I'm going to release one, and then it wasn't as good, and then this year, let's make a better one. Let's make
people
the
are still
volume 2.
People are still pissed off about it though. It's not powered.
Yeah, he wants you to use your power. I mean, you could use the powered Kemper, or you could
bring your own
power amp. It's a power amp. They're so cheap.
They were telling people though they were telling people at NAMM there is going to be a powered one. It just isn't.
Of course,
it isn't done yet.
Yeah, of course. And he's not the kind of person who's going to rush it. He even said, this was a funny quote. I'm not going to use the exact words, I'm sure, but he said something to the effect of,
we don't line
our
up with
timeline
NAMM
don't line up with don't line up with NAMM schedule. And he said like this, and we don't care.
Yep. And he means
those words. Yeah, those were words he actually said, and we don't care. Or something like, we obviously don't care.
Yeah.
In other words, he could give 2 of these coins that I'm showing.
Yeah.
He could not give this coin, which has a 0 on it and an F word on it. Okay. He could not give 2 of those coins to anybody that cares about, because he's not letting NAMM push his timelines, hey, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the other company, this one surprised me. Okay. This company surprised me that is not letting NAMM push them to say anything about their new upcoming products or to push anything early, because they've made that mistake in the past. Marshall said, nope, not doing anything new this year. Here's some pretty colors. We're only going to put out what the folks like, the dealers. I want to say something to folks that might not understand. When they say on a NAMM show, these are already sold, what they mean is they're sold to the dealers. They're not sold to individuals.
Yeah.
They might be sold to the dealers. And if you want one of the new PRSs that's in some weird color, I can't remember the color now.
Most of those are already gone.
They're gone. Right.
Yeah.
I talked to John Bott today. He said the ones that are coming to his dealer locally in Connecticut, they're gone. They're already spoken. I said, if you want to get one, you better get one. He goes, no, can't get one. They're already gone.
Yeah, I mean,
and you can bet
the dealers buy them full well knowing who they're going to.
Yeah, and you can
they
bet
even get announced.
Yeah, and for some reason, PRS is only releasing 500 worldwide. So I saw Anderton's told him, he said, you could have put a 0 at the end of that. You still would have sold it out. But Paul made a good statement about this. I want to come back to Marshall in a second. But Paul made a good statement about this. He said, I'm not going to sell more or as many as you could sell. He said, because that does not make them valuable. It doesn't make them valuable to the person. There's no reason to want it if everybody else has got it. There's no reason to put out the great value version, of this. Put out the Nabisco and then put it out in the limited, like, you're not going to get another Game of Thrones Oreos, okay? There were no great value Oreos that were Game of Thrones, okay? You're not going to get that. I have a bag of great value Oreos. No, unopened. Anybody wants to buy them. Anyway, so the point is, I know it's funny, but I'm going to tell you, in 20 years, somebody's going to want those great value Oreos.
That's disgusting.
They're not going to go bad.
I was just going to say, they probably won't go bad.
They can't go bad. They're in a foil package. But the point is that I'm making with Marshall, again, they wouldn't even talk about what is in the pipeline. I said, nope. If I want to keep my job, I can't even mention it. So that starts the rumor mill. Boom, just like that. What's Marshall going to do? What's Marshall going to do?
All right. So can we circle back on neural DSP now?
Yeah.
Because I have a laundry list of things to say about this product. So the neural DSP is basically 2 helixes in one box. That's what they're alleging, right? With the ability to profile amps. The screenshots they're showing of it, which are completely fabricated, by the way.
Yep.
I don't know if they actually had a physical box, but if they did, I suspect it was nothing more than a keyboard with buttons attached that was
Yep.
triggering like a PC with the beta software.
Yeah, with like
I mean,
Adobe Photoshops of
I
what
would, I right. I want to get because so I work in the software industry. I work with folks who develop applications. Smoke and mirrors is super common for this sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
where they hide the fact that certain things aren't working and that the product may not be working at all. In fact, and that you may be triggering something else, but it's just proof of concept, right? That's the whole idea behind it. If it is everything they say it is, it's going to be a bargain. I highly suspect it will be lacking features. It will not do everything they say it's going to do. And that it will probably come in at a higher price than they're saying it is as well. Because I heard the number 1,500 thrown around for the quad cortex. So 2 helixes in one box with more processing power, better DA converters, higher quality software, quote unquote, which that's subjective, right? And feature sets that are probably patented, coming in at $1,500. I think you're smoking reefer. Like, there's no other way that this is. I mean, I was like, are they high? Like, what is going on here?
This is like saying, I want to try to put this into perspective for everybody that buys any kind of electronic equipment. This is like saying that they're going to stick 2 iPhone 11 Pro X Pro Maxes, and I mean, these processors are not inexpensive. This is the thing that drives your equipment, right? I mean, this is the most important thing. This is where all the brains and the functionality, all the math creates things. And it's got to be done literally in microseconds.
That's why they use DSP processors as opposed to x86 processors like you find in your computer.
Correct. And to say that you could stick that much processing power into this thing.
I'm not saying they can't do it. I absolutely know they can. But the problem is the price, not at that price point. You're out of your mind.
This is not like when Sony, all right, so Sony and Xbox goes, all right, we're going to release an Xbox or Sony. They have like $20. Sometimes they lose $20 per, or sometimes.
But they're not licensing you software.
Right. So what they do is they make money on the back end, right? They're selling you games, or when you buy games, they get half of the money you spend on a game. You ever wonder why a game is $60? It's because 30 of it
is paying for your Xbox.
Pays for the Xbox. Literally, that money goes to Sony. So if 1 million of, let's say it's a ridiculously huge game that sells every single year, like Call of Duty or Madden or whatever. When that stuff goes out there, half that money goes to Sony or Microsoft. So they know that it's okay to have a loss leader as the console is. As long as they get close to breaking even on it, they're going to make their money back in spades. But when you release a product like this, you've got to have markup for the end dealer. Okay, everyone who sells this for you, whether it's Sweetwater, Guitar Center, or Joe's Music Shop.
No, because Neural DSP is not planning on having dealers. That's part of their shtick. You're going to buy it directly from them without trying it.
Like Axe. Right. So
I think that's how this is going to get marketed. I don't think Neural DSP is gonna do it any differently. Now, the funny part about the thing is, so they're saying they're doing full circuit modeling, which is basically what the HX series of products, the Helix series of products, and the XFX, which is like physical component modeling. And then it's also going to have what they call neural capture, which is basically what the Kemper does, done in a similar way or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the tech behind it. I don't know if they can actually do it now, which they probably. I get the feeling that this is one of those products. Give us your $750, get on the pre-order list, and then it'll show up when it's finished, which might be 3 years from now. Even though they're saying, this winter or whatever. I cannot imagine this product launching like that.
Okay. I want to preface this with a scary story. So a few years ago, this woman had announced that she had a product. Her company had a product that could take a droplet of blood, and they could figure out what diseases you had from this droplet of blood. And this was to make it so that people didn't have to go through all these.
I also have to make a correction too, but go ahead.
Yeah, all these scans and stuff. So anyway, she sold this. This is a huge thing, and I can't remember what the company is. I'll look it up when you're going through your thing. But she made this sale, and she even faked her own voice to convince people. So she had like this little high voice in real life, but she was like, "And now I'm going to present this," and she got caught a few times in her fake voice, and she was like, "Oh, I just have that was just a thing in my throat." She literally got billions of dollars, built many VCs for billions of dollars in vaporware, and they faked, just like you're talking about with that software, they faked the results of many customers to create the illusion that her product actually existed, and it did not exist.
So here's my retraction. They said €200 or $200 for your down payment, right? And then when this thing finally shows up, it'll be $1,400 remaining plus shipping. And it'll be shipped within 5 days of finishing. They expect that it will launch no sooner than November 2020. So they did not say you may. So they say you may receive your quad cortex sooner than November 2020, but they're not saying when. And I haven't heard anyone who was at the NAMM show who actually played with this thing. Not yet. I'm sure people did. But it's funny because, this is everything everybody wants on a modeler. It's not that I find it hard to believe that not Boss, not Line 6, not Fractal, not Kemper, or any of the other companies could deliver all of these products in one box. But Neural DSP, who is known for making plugins that are based on specific players' sounds, suddenly is the leader in modeling in the industry. I think this is absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it's vapor. Okay, so vapor hardware.
Yeah. So the company was Theranos, THERANOS, like Thanos with an ER in the middle.
Yeah.
And here's what's funny. Her net worth at that time was in the billions, right? $9 billion valuation, $9 billion valuation of the companies. She is now worth that much.
Zero.
The same number that's on that coin I showed you. Zero. She is worth $0. That's just to give you an idea. Her name was Elizabeth Holmes.
I think so. Neural is a legitimate company, right? They've been selling products. They're highly thought of. I don't think anybody would call them the leader in their field. All right. But the interesting part about this is their first foray into hardware. And I find it very hard to believe that this product is going to be the best thing on the market right out of the gate. And I also find it very hard to believe that it's going to debut with everything that they say that it's going to have on it. So if I were you, don't be an early adopter. Don't drop your $200 and hope that this product appears, because you're going to be waiting a long time. Number one, if it does appear with all the things that it says on it. And number two, you're going to get a reduced feature unit, which is going to be a step back for the company. And you know what? More power to them for making a product that has intense ambitions. I mean, I watched the video. If this thing looks like it does when it comes out and it can do the profiling thing, I mean, I'm going to look real hard at it. I just hesitate to think that's the case. So case in point, Fractal has a similar feature in their stuff called Tone Match. And you can get this in other products too. That goes by different names. But essentially what it does is it listens to a sample of audio of guitar playing, and then it makes an EQ curvature happen on the tone stack of whatever you're doing that matches that. In the Axe effects, it's basically just an IR that gets applied over the top of your signal. So it changes the contour of what you're doing. And Bias is very similar as well. And I could totally see, because Bias does it, by the way, I could totally see this being just like Bias's profiling thing, where it's like we're just going to select the closest amp model based on what our neural quote unquote DSP does and says that this is similar to what you're doing, and then applies an IR to the top of it and says there's your model, which some people have insinuated that's what the Kemper does. I find it very difficult to believe that the Kemper does that, but that's just because of my playing ability, and I've tinkered with IRs and put them over sounds that are already processed in mic cabinets and things like that, and that's not exactly the same thing. So I get it. They want to be all things to all people. There's patents involved, which are going to be a problem. There are, this is what really drives me nuts. This is where you know that they're completely like pandering to the Kemper people, myself included, is that their neural capture screen looks literally like the display on the Kemper. You have gain, volume, save, refine, start from scratch, and reference. Those are the buttons. The exact same buttons you get in the Kemper when you do a profile. And it's like, okay, it's pretty clear what you're doing here. We'll see. I mean, maybe they're looking at it from this approach. They write software and they know that it's very easy to pull these things off, and so they're going to do the exact same thing. Or maybe they have licensed the Kemper technology, and they're going to utilize that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I cannot imagine that feature is going to be in this unit. I think that's a very unique technology. I think Christoph Kemper owns the market on that. And I think that's why he's been doing it for 7 years with no competition, because that's what it is mind-boggling to me. We got this new unit coming out and it does the same thing that this other thing does that nobody else can do.
Right.
It just strikes me as being like, no, this is garbage. This is ridiculous. You're expecting me to believe lies. So I don't know. If it does come out, like I said, and it comes out the way that they're saying it's going to, I will be shocked. I will also be looking very hard at the product, but I think this is a pitch deal. We're going to build our first hardware unit. This is what we want it to look like. Here's the beta with the smoke and mirrors demo. Pay your money up front, and you can crowdsource this thing for us because we can't afford to do it ourselves. That's what this sounds like to me.
Right. Yeah, it's a crowdfunding thing. Will it work? I don't know. Will they release a down a lower version and promise everybody upgrades?
They could do it. They could do a Tesla. They could run a Tesla and go, you know what? If you want all these other features, you're going to have to buy this high-end unit. And if you're going to buy the unit we announced at NAMM, you're going to have to wait 2 years because we're not going to be producing them until then.
Yeah, who is it? There was another company that did that where they actually fulfilled orders that came later than they did for the orders that came in.
That Tesla's been known to do that.
Somebody else,
but it's because, so like Tesla, you order the Model 3, right? You get the base Model 3, which is like supposed to be like $35,000, and then before that ever comes out to market, they're like, well, we're going to start on the $70,000 ones first. So if you'd like to switch your order,
what you call it was I don't think they actually did it, so I don't want to say that they did, but I think somebody accused Kiesel of doing it.
Kiesel is, if you pay in full up front, that's their. But
that makes sense to me.
That makes sense to me too. I know I poo-pooed it when we talked about it initially, but it makes sense to me.
If I'm a builder and you give me your $3,000 or $2,000 or whatever up front, or $1,500, and then I've got a person that paid $400 or whatever the down payment is, I'm probably going to fill your order first because I know you're out your money already and you're sitting and waiting. Where the other person, they may or may not complete the order. As much as everybody, I hear this a lot. Somebody will go, I was going to do this. I was going to do that. That's like your parents saying, I was going to bring you over to Disney today, but instead I'm just bringing you to the park because you were bad. I mean, it's like, I was going to do it, but I hear it a lot.
I'm just looking at so we're going to put the nail in this coffin real quick, but I'm looking at so they have like the invisible glass, like looks, so you can see the components inside. I would be lying if I said I didn't open my Helix when I had it. And I saw the board that was in it. Now, granted, that's 3-year-old tech, but that thing filled the entire inside of that. And it was like multi-layered inside of that unit. They're saying they're going to do something twice as powerful in a box, basically like an inch or two longer than the stomp.
Yeah.
I find, and then you see the board inside this mock-up, and they're like, come on, guys, cut the crap. There's no way. There's no physical way you're doing that right now. Not with the components you've got to stick in there. That's ridiculous. I'm not buying it. As I said, this is vaporware. Nobody knows what this thing is actually going to look like, and it might debut totally in a totally different box. It's definitely going to have the touch screen. I would not be shocked if we don't see a Kemper 2 that actually is the same modeling and everything, except that it runs 2 amps, it has a color display, touchscreen. They eliminate half the buttons on the unit, like that whole thing. But yeah, it's making me sick. So because they're taking advantage of people in the industry, and it's one thing when Fractal does it. Fractal has like a long history of product delays and stuff, and I think people sort of know when they buy a Fractal product or get on a Fractal list, it's going to be a while before they get one.
It'll be a while.
But Neural DSP, I mean, this is there's no expectation there yet. So I don't know.
Well, all right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Neural DSP kind of a company that started as like a software developer for others? Like they developed software for folks like the Marshall Code or the Defender things or stuff like that.
I haven't heard that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, but I haven't heard that. They have a line of plugins that are good. I mean, but they're good, but they're not like, here's a full featured modeling platform. It's like, here's the Tone of Pliny. Like it's a whole weird, I could see Rabia doing a tone with Neural DSP. And Tosin Abasi has done a tone with Neural DSP. They're known for like those kinds of players, which is why I kind of scratch my head on this and go, do you really got to make the leap beyond gent and metal into like, the bar band kind of thing in order for this to be successful? And I'm
not saying it couldn't be a successful product.
Not at all. I hope it's successful because actually this is stiff competition for the players in the game already, and it would be interesting to see how that actually pans out. But I have a hard time believing that this is going to be a real product.
Right. I mean, let's face it. In the grand scheme of things, there's 2 real big players right now that you got to go up against. So that's Line 6 and Kemper.
Okay, so
those are the 2 biggies. I mean, AxeFX is out there. Don't get me wrong. I know AxeFX is out there, but they are not as big in numbers.
I see a lot of them around here. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the numbers. I would suspect now Kemper's probably bigger now because of the stage and because they actually have distributors. But I can't imagine them being that much bigger. It just depends. If anybody dropped by the Fractal booth, did anybody find out when their little stomp guy's coming out? Yeah. If you did, let us know in the group. I have a feeling they're all still sitting in a warehouse with bad firmware. Moving on. So other controversial things at NAMM. Can we talk about Pia? Let's talk about Pia. All right.
Let's talk about Pia. I did not know that was his wife's name, by the way, and I apologize for the indication
that it was meant pain in the ass.
I thought it meant pain in the ass.
All right. So the Ibanez Pia. This thing was leaked. Okay. Some retailer leaked this about a week or 2 before NAMM in a catalog.
Oh,
and it had the prices on it. And this is when the controversy starts.
Oh boy.
People were furious that there was a new signature coming out from Steve Vai. They were furious that it had flower petal holes on it. They were furious about the pickup covers. They were furious. I mean, literally anything you could possibly think of about this guitar that they could be angry about, they were ticked. And
wow, internet anger is
incredible. I don't know whether they were mad because it's like, well, I already have a gem. Now I don't want to have to buy this one too, or what it was. But so styling aside, right? Like this is this is an artsy fartsy guitar. I'm just going to put it that way. Many people would characterize this guitar as being a feminine guitar. I disagree, but only from the perspective, like I get the whole like Japanese warrior culture and the rose, stuff and all of the like, plant and tree of life and all that. I get it. That totally makes sense on this instrument and any of the instruments that he's done because of his playing style and his ability and all that stuff and his eccentricness and his artistic thing and all that. But the internet kind of goes buck wild with this stuff, and they look at this and they go, he's naming a guitar after his wife. And that was like the frustration that everybody had. He's naming the guitar after his wife. And I still don't understand why people had such a problem with him naming the guitar after his wife. I don't understand why people have a problem with the monkey grip getting changed. That's another like, oh my gosh, no, it's pedals. They didn't even need to be there kind of comment. That's not even functional, which, okay, you're probably right on that one. I personally, I still prefer the gem. Am I mad that he did the Pia? No, I could care less. I'm not going to buy one.
If you do, first of all, if I was to choose between the gem and the Pia, of course, I don't know the price tag yet, so you're going to shock me.
It's 4,000.
Oh my God.
It's 4,000, like 200, I think. And then if you buy it at retail, so like the map price is like 3,200, I think.
Okay, that's
it's
what
right
I thought
in line with the gem.
So it's a gem. It's a prettier gem. To me, if I had a choice between the two, because that is about the same price point, that would not bother me at all. I'd go with the Pia. I honestly would choose the Pia over the.
There was more controversy, and I know. By the way, it's 3,500.
Okay, I like the cutaway. That the gem's what 3,300 or
the gem
3,000.
Yeah, well, so that's the controversy because people are like they're not going to make the gem in Japan anymore. That's what people are thinking. That's not been said. That is 100% not been said by anyone.
Right.
The gem right now currently goes for 3,000 flat.
All right, 3,000. So this thing is 3,500.
Right. So it's got. I think those laser cut pickup covers are freaking great looking. I think more companies should look at that kind of thing for styling.
Yeah, I think they're gorgeous.
I think artistically, like the way that this guitar is laid out visually, it's probably one of the coolest guitars ever to look at. Except I'm not a big fan of the pedals, and I only say that because they're big. If they've done them smaller and done them maybe not as a full thing, like a German carve or something into the top of the guitar, maybe not as a full thing where you could see through it, I think I would have liked it more. I think the pedals actually, because they're a whole, for me, it's like, well, why would you take away that part of the instrument? I mean, I would rather have the wood there for strength and stability. Those are very thin sides, and if you drop this guitar or something gets dropped on top of it, you could potentially crack that. And I mean, it's a $3,500 guitar.
All right, so I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Guitar Center. If anybody's thinking of getting one, I work at Guitar Center, folks.
Yeah, I look at them.
And I can get you 20% off. Anyway,
gorgeous looking stuff. The inlays
are
amazing.
Oh my God, the inlays are beautiful. The headstock design is gorgeous. The back of the guitar is crazy. The
magnetic backplate. Yes,
backplate.
Finally,
he was like reels. He says when he pulls it off on one video, I saw he goes, wow, and we've been waiting this long for magnets, and why do we need all these screws?
Yeah, dude. Like I saw that.
That's
finally.
a change should come to the jam.
It's like finally somebody did it. Yeah. I was waiting for it.
Yeah. Bring that to the jam. But because that would be a zero.
Nah, for me, honestly, Gem just ripped the backplate off.
Well, yeah, that's what most people do. But all I'm going to say is, if I had a choice, if I was buying new, I'd buy this, and I would buy it. Oh my God, that pink, beautiful Panther.
All
pink.
of the colors are great.
I'd probably go with it.
The lime green, that gold, it looks absurd.
Oh, the gold! Oh my God, that is just incredible. They put the pink in the inlays and the blue, and just the thing is beautiful. Which I want to get to about this beauty stuff in a minute, but because I do this to myself all the time. But the 3-piece neck, to me, this guitar screams today and gorgeous. I mean, okay, could they have made the pedal cuts a little smaller? Yes.
It's not just the smaller. I think they shouldn't have gone all the way through the guitar because that suggests handle, and these aren't handles. They aren't. They're decoration.
That's true.
It's a functionality thing. It's not it's not a visual thing so much as a functionality thing to me. Like the suggestion that it goes all the way through the guitar says handle, because we know the gem and the monkey grip, like, and we know this is a Steve Vai guitar. It's got the Tree of Life inlay, all that stuff. I really feel like that should have been like a German carve or some sort of routing in the top of the guitar, and maybe even tie it into the inlay work some way, just so it makes like visual sense with the rest of the guitar. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's a very unique choice, and it's not necessarily the one I would have made.
Right, and I'm going to say this: just because I would not have made that decision, I love this Sundew Gold one.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, wow. Honestly, I think that the only one I don't like, just because I'm not a big and green.
I actually think the green is great, but I think the pink is probably the preferred color, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That with the rose petal cutout on the pink, it does look quite good.
Yeah, the Panther pink is just beautiful. And I honestly can see that one selling like boom.
Well, and those are limited editions, so if you want one, you got to get your hands on one now. Because they are, I think they're only it's like when they first did the gems, they had white and then they had the 3 colors, and the 3 colors are now hugely sought after. If I were you, I would wait a year or two until they do the floral. That's when you want one, because that's the one that's going to be worth an insane amount of money when they do it, and it might be 4 or 5K, but I mean, it'll be worth it because that guitar will be 7 or 10K in 3 or 4 years.
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know it's going to happen.
I mean, what the original florals are now? What, 12K, 13K, or something like that? I see them going. I've seen them go for that much.
I've seen them go well over $10,000. So, all right. So, and originally, I think they were what? That was the late '80s. So
yeah, that was like right when they came out, '89 or '88.
So so those things were like, I think not even $3,000, but I think they wound up becoming $3,000 because a lot of people kind of like what they'll do with this one color off PRS. People are going to put their $500 down and then sell that $500 deposit to someone else for like $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000.
I tell you what. Here's my biggest issue. These are Adler bodied, right? I believe they're Alder. The other one, the gem, is not Alder. It is an Alder cap over basswood, I believe.
That's right, basswood.
Which I'm gonna talk briefly about that before we move on to the next topic. But so they're Alder body. I actually know the Gem 7V is actually an Alder body, with a walnut neck, 5-piece maple and walnut neck. Of course, it's got stripes, you know. I seem to remember. No, it's the inexpensive ones, like the blue floral and the woody and all the other ones.
Those are the ones that have
the basswood. So they had an alder top,
alder over,
and basswood. Then that was to protect the basswood back.
Yep. Because basswood's really easily.
Listen, I know people say this all the time, like Ibanez RGs. You know, this is basically the same thing as a gem. It's not, and that's it's that basswood body has a lot to do with it. If you're gonna buy an RG 550, which I think they're doing them right now, right? RG 550. I want to see what material they're making out of. So the Genesis, the 550, it's basswood, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy that kind of body and it's basswood, I would seriously consider just buying a Gem Junior and doing upgrades to it. Because I'm not a fan of basswood myself. I know some people like it, and that's fine. If you like it, great. Get one, be happy. I've played. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. I played several Gem Juniors I liked. It's probably going to be a guitar that I end up getting at some point, but only because I'm going to customize the crap out of it. I'm not going to leave it stock. I'm going to put my own Floyd on there, whether it's an Edge or whatever I do with it. It's not going to be the stock one. And I want to get one not because of the Steve Vai thing. That's a big deal. Those guitars are really versatile. And for anybody who has never played a single hum, it's one of the most versatile pickup configurations you can get your hands on. There's a reason why guys like Steve Vai have grappled onto that. And for those of you who don't realize, like, Steve Vai still plays sessions, which I think a lot of people forget that he did some country session.
Yeah.
Like recently. And he still makes music for movies and stuff. So he has to have something that doesn't just sound like Vi. It's got to be a little bit functional. And
that's right.
If there's anybody who, when you listen to the records, has like the most amount of guitar tones and insanity on them, Steve Vai pretty much is like top of the list. I mean, so that's a testimony to how like violently, I would say violently, what do you call it? Adaptable these guitars are. So that I mean, you could buy this and put your own pickups in it. You get a Floyded guitar if you like Floyd's that can do pretty much anything you want for not a lot of money. And if you buy the Gem Junior, guess what? It's not basswood, it's mahogany.
Right.
So,
So that's put a nail in the Pia thing. I don't want to use the word coffin because it's a human being. I knew a woman named Pia when I was younger, so
she's a musician too.
I certainly don't want.
She was a bass player in Vixen.
Oh, that's right. She was the bass player in Vixen. So I keep forgetting that. You know, it's funny because he kind of overshadows what she did, and yet Vixen was huge.
He overshadows a lot of things. The guy's he's a
as monster. Far as they were they were an all girl band.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. So let's talk about the Gibson booth.
So, all right, before we get, let's go to the Gibson booth. We'll talk Gibson and want to go PRS. So let's talk about Gibson. I think one of the important things is, and a lot of people are making guesses right now, but they don't know. Although Pete Thorne does know, so I do know that they know what they're working on. Jerry Cantrell joined Gibson as one of their ambassadors. Now, I think that's important to talk about because that's not just a signature person or a person that's one of their clients. That's an ambassador to Gibson. Okay, which is a little bit different. It's a higher stature, which means a Cantrell model is coming. More like what Satch has got.
Okay.
Which is like a bunch
Can I point out something?
Yeah.
So he has an existing endorsement, and to my knowledge, he didn't leave that endorsement either.
No, he didn't. That's what I'm saying.
So this is
he's been named an
strange part of the Gibson, and I wanted to comment on this because you brought it up. I read this the other day, and I was like, huh? But they actually, so a lot of Gibson players that end up on their artist roster are not Gibson exclusive, which is strange because most of your Fender players that are on their roster are Fender exclusive, and we know why that is. And you could see a lot of other guitar players from a lot of other brands who are exclusive, like Jackson Guitars. Oh, wait, that's Fender, right? And Charvel. Oh, wait, that's Fender, right? And
that's Fender.
ESP, LTD, Gretsch. Wait. So you get the point. Like, they don't really care if you're exclusive so much as that their primary stuff is the Gibson, especially if you're going to be a brand ambassador. Because even Slash is not Gibson only. I mean, he plays BC Riches pretty frequently in the studio and live. So, or at least he was. I don't know if he is now. He may have switched now that he is their primary spokesperson. Anyway, so go on, Jim.
No, that was my point. So what I was getting at is there is talk of a new Cantrell thing. So I was thinking about the fact that obviously Gibson is coming out with a whole line of Slashes because I want to get to the Epiphone side of things because I think that's more exciting than anything. Yeah, Gibson is doing,
except for the headstock.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Why did they bother?
So I think something that we're going to see only because the Les Paul has been Les Paul for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's
not going to change. They're not going to start calling it a single cut.
No, I don't think that's
going to change. If they call it a single cut.
Yeah, I think so. By the very people that they sued. No, I think what we're going to start seeing is possibly some new lines. Notice the Slash line, right? Which kind of took over. They were like, okay, we've made the standard the way you all wanted it. Here's the standard. It's this basic standard. Here it is, across the line. But for a little more money, you can get these cool colors and this stuff. It's going to have slashes.
They're stepping their toe in the water of doing EVH.
Right.
If you haven't figured that out yet, that's where this is headed. There will be a Slash line of guitars before this is over with. That is not Gibson Slash. It will be Slash by Gibson. That's right. And he will be the primary focus of this brand. Which kills me because there are so many great artists who played Gibsons that are better than tonally, that are better than what he's done. The whole reason that he is popular is because of the image and attitude. And I know people are going to like, oh, but he's a great player. He is a good player. But without the image and attitude, he's nothing. He's not an Yngwie Malmsteen. He's not a Steve Vai. He's not a Joe Satriani. He's an Angus Young for the 90s. I mean, that's right. For the early 90s, really, and the late 80s. So if you stop and you think about that, like, he is kind of a perfect spokesperson for their brand. And actually probably also the perfect person to launch a brand under the Gibson umbrella. But at the same time, it's like a hollow tree. You're making this beautiful structure, but it's hopelessly hollow.
Okay, so I'm gonna disagree with you for a moment. Okay, so Slash represents more than Slash in a lot of people's minds, my own included. In that, Slash was literally the end of an era.
I would argue he's the beginning of the next era.
Or you could say it that way. But what I'm saying is he was at the turning point of what we had all this hair metal, right? That's what Satriani and Vai represent. That to a lot of people. That's what DeMartini and all those other folks represent, right? Yngwie Malmsteen, all those. Here's two people. I'm going to mention their names, right? Jerry Cantrell and Slash. Slash first, then Jerry Cantrell. And they represent something totally new that still rocks. It still requires a guitar, and it's still the era of Gibson. And I'm seeing something really important here. And I'm going to say this because we hadn't for a long time, we hadn't really seen a lot of new Gibson artists, right? They're out there, there's, oh, look at me, I play a Gibson. Then the next week, they're like, I'm playing Schecter now. Or I'm playing, whatever. Because Schecter and Ibanez and, those folks, ESP, were going at them full force because they were like, look at us. You can play us. Even Metallica ran off of Gibson, right? I mean, they got off Gibson.
Arguably, that they were not both Gibson guys to begin with. I mean,
right. I'm just
Kirk
saying.
Hammett's famous guitar was an ESP.
That's right. I was going to say they were both.
Yes, even though he got a deal and he got Free Explorers, that does not mean that they were like a Gibson artist per se.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, but the people that didn't leave the brand were the Jerry Cantrell and the the Slash people. So here's what I'm getting at. They're perfect ambassadors because they represent right now classic rock to a lot of people that are younger even than you, right?
Sure.
They are classic rock. They are what their moms and dads, your kids now are the kids coming up. So I saw this band called Haim. Now I'm not crazy about their music. Don't get me wrong. It's HAIM. They're kind of like what was that kid band they did
Hanson.
What was Hanson? They're the Hanson of today, but they're girls. But three sisters, I guess. The thing is, guess what? The two of them that play guitar are playing an SG and a Les Paul, and the other one. And this is the thing that Gibson is okay with. The other one is playing bass. What's she playing? She's playing
of course.
So, and we just talked about that. But here's the thing that I think Gibson is doing smartly by putting Cantrell in there. I think Cantrell and Slash, like you were talking about, I think we're going to see a Cantrell line as well. I think that's
here's the issue,
and that's going to be huge. Go ahead.
Okay, here's my first retort. This is why the EVH line works for Fender. EVH is known for innovation in gear, right? We look at the Axis model, which was originally the Wolfgang, which became, the PV Wolfgang and then the EVH Wolfgang.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
And he was known for, of course, the before that, the Frankenstrat, which was wildly like, what the hell is this thing when people first saw that? And I'm not just talking about the color. I mean, just the concept of it.
That thing was just
a 335 pickup in a Strat,
A
and it was and it was like the bare minimum of crap you would need to actually get it to work.
Exactly. Here's a volume.
It doesn't get more. I'm be honest, it doesn't get more rock and roll than that. And I actually see him, and this is why I think they're picking Slash. They're parallels, right? But Slash is not known for innovation. He's known for the roots thing. Like he went back to his roots or rock and roll's roots and picked up the Les Paul, right? So here's where I think it gets kind of sketchy. Slash doesn't play Gibsons. Like he plays Masterbuilts and stuff, or he plays vintage ones, not what they're putting out today. And that's where I'm like, okay, so you're gonna be the brand ambassador, but you're not playing modern stuff. Now Jerry Cantrell, I'm not gonna poo-poo that guy at all. I love Jerry Cantrell. I love his playing. I love his music. I love all of his endorsements. Every product I've ever played, this guy, his name on it has been good.
And I was a late adopter of Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam? You mean Alice in Chains?
I'm sorry. Alice in Chains. Sorry. I was thinking Kim Thayil, right?
That's Soundgarden.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeez, Jim.
Who the hell's Pearl Jam?
Oh, God. Now you're going to make me look bad because I can't remember his name.
I can't remember now. Oh, my God.
We'll come back to it.
Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, so, yeah, because you picked the ones that I like, right? Like Kim Thayil and from that generation of guitar players.
Yeah, me too. Those are
Mike McCready, right. And I actually love his playing, too.
I like him, too.
Which makes me feel really bad they couldn't remember his name on the spot. But all right, so here's where this whole thing goes astray. Jerry Cantrell, as good a guitar player as he isn't a representative of the Gibson brand. Okay, the guitars that he made famous are like the G&L Rampage and stuff like that were like really obscure and nobody else wanted them. And
that's right.
He is a G&L endorser. If obviously that's I like G&Ls too, but I don't have any of his. And I'm not actually like a super huge fan of the guitars he's done with G&L, but like I said, anything he's done I put my hands on has been really good. The Dunlop Wah is great. The amp he did with Friedman is good.
Yep.
So yeah, all that aside, right? They needed another brand ambassador, and I'm really shocked that he's turned it down or whatever's gone on there. But where's Joe Bonamassa in this?
Okay, so let's get back to let's finish the Gibson thing because I really want to come to Joe Bonamassa.
There's no artistic relevance to either of these gentlemen anymore. I'm not saying they're not relevant in culture today. Like I had a conversation with the people that I bought my car from the other day, and I mentioned Eddie Van Halen. They're like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, you probably know who Billie Eilish is, though, right?" And I just left it at that. I didn't go any further. I was just kind of sitting there thinking, really? They're not relevant anymore?
Yeah. Right. So, all right. So let me say this. All right. Because I think this is important. The difference between what Eddie Van Halen is doing for Fender and what Cantrell / and Bonamassa, whether he knows it or not, is doing for both.
But he's not an ambassador. That's my point.
No, he's just a guitar ambassador. I don't think anybody's ever going to convince him to go that route.
Money thoughts.
Because I was always thinking he should be. Well, let me tell you something. He's put out more signature lines with who than
that's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. Like he makes the perfect sense. What are they doing?
That's right. I don't even think they have to convince him.
No.
Yep. Throw him a signature line every now and again. He's fine. Wait until he's too old and isn't putting out such great stuff. Because John Bonamassa is doing one thing that nobody else is doing. Nobody. I don't care what musician it is. At least for now.
He's a museum.
Huge.
He's a mobile museum.
He's just himself. That's right. He's just himself. He doesn't give a crap about what record companies are doing. He doesn't care a crap about what radio stations are playing. He doesn't care about what movies want him. He's doing what Joe Bonamassa wants to do, and people are buying it. I mean, and I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just
That's
saying
what
Joe
he's doing.
Bonamassa is doing what Joe
It's a
Bonamassa.
fact. Okay.
All right, so here's what I think with Cantrell, and you actually make my own point for me. Thank you. Eddie Van Halen is talking about innovation, but in all reality, the Wolfgang it's being put out right now is not all that much different.
No, it's not.
That PV put out.
It's not.
Okay?
There really isn't a whole lot of innovation going on in his line. You're absolutely right on that, and I was going to get to that too.
So the Pia is not that much different from the Gem. Let's face it; it's got some carvings and stuff, but
the core of the guitar.
I want to get right. Core of the guitar is there. Although let's face it, the Pia for me, I think the Pia has got innovations that belong there. But this is what I want to get to. Nobody is out there going, "Hey, look at me! I'm the Fender Ultra player. I'm the Fender Elite player."
No, because it's all about endorsement deals. It's a way to get fast cash.
Because that's right. For in reality, let's face it, for Fender and Gibson and Martin, over here in acoustic land, nobody gives a flying crap about what they do new. They want to know what they can do that brings back the power of the old. And the only thing that I think Cantrell and of course Slash and in his own way, in his by his own self absorbed or whatever way, Bonamassa is doing. They're doing the music their way, and the thing is that I think that people look to Slash and people look to Cantrell and people look to Bonamassa because they want people who want really expensive Gibsons and Fenders, for that matter, want the old stuff. They don't give a shit. What did Fender put out? They put out the Broadcaster. They have they got I actually knew about this 2 years ago. They have reissued the Broadcaster in a relatively limited run.
Yeah.
And believe me, you will see the no.
They've already done that. The custom shop's done no caster runs before. Right.
Yeah, and the thing is, well, I don't know in the broad scheme is what we're going to see here from the Broadcaster this year, which is a bigger release. In other words, they're going to try to reach.
I just people. Laugh because I'm like,
it's not.
Why would you want a Broadcaster? Just get Telecaster, same damn thing.
I know. It's
a collector's item. No. That's all it is. This isn't about. So let's be real. This isn't about necessarily being period authentic for players. This is about being a collector's item. Okay, if you're going to reissue something like that, that's a collector's item.
Right, but what we're about to see, I think Gibson is doing. Eddie Van Halen did it first, obviously. Gibson is doing with Slash and going to do with Cantrell is, I think they're going to come out. And it's interesting that Jerry Cantrell is JC, and of course the new guy is JC. But anyway, I think we're going to see a JC line. And those two lines are relatively affordable. I mean, and if you look at the Pia and the Gem, those are relatively. I mean, compared to Slash models,
other high-end guitars, I do not consider the Pia affordable. I think I've said it on the show many a time. I think if you're paying over $2,000 for a guitar, you're lying to yourself. I really believe that. Yeah. I think there's diminishing returns.
I will see your diminishing returns and say that I'm willing to bet you money that within the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see that same Slash run in Epiphone. And that's where we got to get back to Gibson, because Epiphone. All of the new Epiphones that are coming out for 2020 from this run, regardless of the fact the headstock change wasn't as big as we were hoping, or wasn't as small as we were hoping. Let's call it that, because you can still row a boat with it. The changes that we're seeing right now are Gibson is ready to say, okay, you know what? We're not selling as many high-end Gibsons as we were. Let's get this Epiphone train rolling and let's sell some freaking Epiphones. Because if you look, that new Epiphone line is not increasing the price of the Epiphone line that's current. You get a 50s Epiphone, it's $599, just like an Epiphone standard is now. You get a 60s Epiphone, it's going to be the same as the standard is now. The pricing doesn't change. The headstock changes, all the stuff changes. You get to get a modern, which actually isn't all that expensive. It's under $700, barely. But it's okay. Let's say it's right at $700. But it's got all the modern features, including the same cutaway back, which they've never done for Epiphone. They've never made it look like. I know. I'm getting to a point
I
here.
got a big one.
That is that Gibson is going for. Whether they accomplish it or not is beside the point. Because I want to get to marketing next. That wants to be my last at least. And that is that we're seeing a line from Epiphone in a way we've never seen Gibson push Epiphone before.
All right, so there are some things I like in the Epiphone line. I will admit that first off. I liked. Yep. I'm on Sweetwater right now. I'm going to sort by newest products just so I can have them all on screen so we can talk about them one at a time.
Yeah, they actually have a little thing you can click.
So I'm kind of confused about the Muse. The one I liked was the 61.
Yeah, the Muse one.
All right. So and there's a reason I'm bringing this one up specifically so we can talk about it in depth. But the 61 standard SG with Vibrola, I love the fact that they're doing a 61 standard SG in the Epiphone line because they're nice guitars. But why the hell would you put a Vibrola on? Which is a notoriously crappy vibrato system on a guitar that's marketed for like $500. There's no way in hell that's going to be a usable item. I'm saying it right now.
Because you're targeting somebody who wants a Vibrola. You're not necessarily targeting somebody who knows how to use one or knows that it's. I wouldn't get one on a high-end guitar. As a matter of fact, Billy Gibbons and Angus Young, the first thing they do when they get a Vibrola is what? They disable
the Les Paul Standard 50s metallic gold. So this is what we were saying all along, which is that they need to bridge the gap. The models that Epiphone puts out need to be closer to what they put out from the Gibson standard line, and the Gibson line. This is probably you're probably thinking I'm heading down the road of agreeing with Jim on this, but I'm getting there, and it's not just the headstock. There's another little thing. So these guitars, like here's a standard 50s metallic gold, right? $600. Here's a standard 50s, or standard 60s, again $600. Or they're $599, $600, both those guitars. Les Paul Custom Alpine White. This is a good deal, $679. And these are just the ones I'm calling out because these are the ones that popped out to me when I saw them in videos or saw them in pictures. They're still doing the hollow bodies from Epiphone, which I think are a strong point of that brand. The Les Paul Special TV Yellow. I mean, they're checking all the boxes. They're getting the guitars that people have looked for over the years and have gone for, and they're putting them out now in the Epiphone line. Here's where it gets dicey. So, if I buy a $679 Epiphone Les Paul Custom Alpine White, which I think to me is a pretty attractive price for that guitar, what am I in competition with?
It is.
I'm Epiphone. What am I in competition with? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. So here's where it becomes an issue. I bitched about the headstock. They did make a change in the headstock. I think the headstocks look slightly better. I don't think they look great. I think they could have made them even better than they are. And I think they could have probably used Gibson shape with an Epiphone logo, and that would have been fine. And actually, I probably would be like, okay, take my money. But at this point, I'm looking at the Les Paul Custom in Alpine White, and I don't care whether it's Alpine White or Ebony. They don't make them in Ebony, I don't think. But here's where I see this being a problem. They're in competition with China. Okay? They're not in competition with brands like LTD, ESP, or any of the known brands here in the States that kind of make similar like Les Paul custom style guitars. The EC1000 is the one I think of. Obviously you can get that in a kind of custom-esque look. And a modern one too at that, right? I see this guitar and I say, this is for the person that really wants a Gibson. Then I look at the price point and go, $679. I mean, they're not out of the realm. If they bought 2 of them, they could get potentially 1 USA one if they could find a good deal on it used. And it becomes a tougher sell for me because I see this as being in competition. The headstock doesn't match. It's not really a Gibson. They've said that over and over. They drill it into your brain. So why wouldn't I go to China and get myself a Shengzai? And I'm using Shengzai. They're defunct now. But get a Shengzai that looks just like this. Because that's what this is about. This is about aesthetics. This is not so much about feel and all of that. Yes, these guitars sound great. I think the pickups are an obvious improvement over what Epiphone was using before based on the videos I've seen. Again, I haven't had my hands on one yet. Can't tell you for sure. But I feel like they're not missing the mark, but they don't understand what the mark is yet, who they're really in competition with yet. Which seems nuts to me because they did that thing with Mark Agnesi, and it should have been real obvious that they were going after the counterfeiters. And yet here they are charging $680 for a guitar that you can go to a counterfeiter and get for $500 with whatever logo you want on it and whatever headstock shape you want.
Yep. I'm going to agree with you 100%, but I'm going to disagree in that I don't think it's possible. So here's what
we haven't had our hands on.
And I could say this.
We haven't had our hands on these guitars yet.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We haven't had our hands on them. At the minute they come in the store, I'll tell you guys, I'm going to sit down on my day off. I'm going to go into that store. I'm going to play every single one of them that we get. Here's the thing I want to say straight up, okay? Because I think it's important. We don't know what the build quality is going to be, okay? But I will say this. I don't own a Chipson, okay? I've never had a Chipson. You do, okay? And you own one. You've owned it.
It has obvious shortcomings. I mean, the Shengzai we've discovered has very soft fret material, for example.
Yep.
It has shortcomings. They all have shortcomings. Right. The Epiphone shortcoming is that it's not a Gibson.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I'm not gonna poo-poo that. Here's what I think here's what I think has finally happened, but it's a move in the direction. I think Gibson's gonna finally do the thing where they're gonna say, okay, Gibson overseas. In other words, they're gonna remove the Epiphone.
I don't think they're gonna remove the Epiphone. I think they're just gonna get the headstock shape.
Well, and I'll say it like this: the reason that I think they're going to do it is because Fender does it for everything but the Squire. I think they're going to keep a line for a low end. That's my guess, because it's the next logical move if this doesn't work.
Oh, I think it's going to work.
I think this is going to sell a lot of guitars. It's also going to leave a lot of guitars hanging on the shelves. I don't think you're going to be able to give away the ones that are hanging there right now. I would buy one. I would buy one. And every customer that's come in to say, oh, I like this Epiphone Les Paul. You know what I've been telling them the last couple of weeks, which really hurts my commission. I've been saying, don't do it. Wait a month. If you can wait a month, wait a month. Come in here and take a look at the new Epiphone line before you make this decision, because there's some exciting things happening. I think that I think it's important. I think that the things that they did bring are what they did bring. And you're right. They're not competing with it. But how can you compete? Because no matter what you do, China's going to do it.
They're competing with Harley Benton is what they're competing with. They are China. Well, where do you think they're being made now? They're being made in China. Epiphone is being made in China.
I know, but they're not.
It's markup. It's brand name markup, Jim. That's what it is.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. You can't possibly, when you're a small company and you have this many executives, you can't possibly, when you're trying to pay this many. You don't have any shareholders. You don't have anything like that. Harley Benton.
That's why I was just going to say, that's really what they're in competition with now.
But I've spoken with folks emailed with folks or messaged with folks who have done the Harley Benton route, and they are not that good. They're not that consistent
honestly,
yet.
The ones I've seen, because I've had my hands on 2 of them, and they were both Gibson-likes, I would say, and this is what's going to shock people, I've played Epiphones that are good too, but I played a lot of Epiphones that were as the same level or worse than the two Harley Bentons I had my hands on. And I was not a fan of those Harley Bentons. I'm gonna make it very clear. Granted, I think Harley Benton is one of those quality, everybody's going to be a little bit different kind of things. Now, fit and finish on these guitars, I think these are going to outdo Harley Benton in fit and finish. And only because the quality control is going to be better. But only because they're probably more stringent than Thomann is, right? Thomann rejects a third of the guitars that they sell under the Harley Benton name. I've heard that they're a third of them go out as B stock. So if that's the case, I look at these instruments and I go, they just have to get the fit and finish right. No glue in the wrong places. But we all know that the tuners won't be as good. The pickups will be 75 or 85% there. And that's kind of what you expect from this price point. I'm not saying that I expect a professional level instrument for $450 or $679. But here's another thing to keep in mind. I would have no qualms whatsoever about buying an SE, a PRS SE, and taking it on stage. I don't know if I could say the same thing about some of the Epiphone line. That's all I'm saying.
And that's why I think it's important to get these in our hands. Because to be honest with you, that's going to be the decision-making factor for me, is if I pick one of these up, I will pick one up based on the fact that it feels right, plays right. I still think that the current Epiphones for me have a sticky back of the neck. They're not really
the poly they use on them is not I don't like high end poly. It's that's the thing. You're used to playing nitro Gibsons, and I don't think you're ever going to be able to play a poly Gibson and feel like that's the right deal.
Which comes to my next point. Nitro is coming to the S2 line for PRS. So PRS is starting with the new McCarty models. Now, here's what's
I wonder are they going to do them all in Nitro, or is it only going to be special runs? Because I actually don't want a PRS in Nitro. That's not what they're known for.
According to it's not a full Nitro it's some Nitro poly thing. It's a mix. But anyway, what it is, they're starting with the McCartys, and all of the S2 line is going to have Nitro on it. Now, the reason that I think this is exciting for me is obviously I'm a Nitro guy, right? You just said that, I am. I love my three favorite guitars right now are my SG, my Les Paul, and my Ultra Strat. All three of those are great, and that's why it sucked for the last 3 days because
is the Ultra Nitro
studio? I think so, but I do know this. I know that the back of the neck is incredible. Yeah, that's that satin that they did. Which for me, that's the one thing that's always kept me not loving any Strats is when they put that poly on the back. Gotta hate that. But now PRS has swapped the thing and they put a maple fretboard.
No, they're polyurethane, by the way.
They're finishing. They are poly. Yeah. So PRS is coming out with the maple necked what do you call it line? The John Mayer line, and they're putting the Silver Skies where they're going to have a maple fretboard, but they're a satin neck. That's the one thing I didn't like about the freaking that guitar was the non-satin neck. It just feels sticky to me. But anyway, okay, so moving along. So the thing that PRS is doing is bringing Nitro to their S2s, which is a process that costs money.
I don't. Can they even spray Nitro there?
Yeah, they do Nitro on the core line. The Nitro that they use is a different Nitro.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I trust you. I'm just saying because I know that part of the reason that most companies don't spray Nitro anymore is because of EPA regulations.
Yeah, and they're right there. They're right there on the Chesapeake Bay. If you have ever heard of or been to Annapolis, they're right near Annapolis. So the matter of fact, one of our listeners and fans or friends, Jay Wells, is there in his new job right now, doing the job. He's right now living out of his Jeep. I was like, hey, I got a friend's house. You can call him up and find out if you can stay there. But anyway, so the what was I saying? Oh, so the nitro. It's honestly that's one of the things that makes the wear of the guitar and the feel of the guitar to me. It's really cool. And it looks good. And it feels good. I'm kind of excited because it's the S2 line is coming up. Adding the McCartys to the S2 line is really really cool. They're not as deep carved. They said so. Of course, they're creating a narrative. We all create narratives, right? But the narrative is for these is that the McCarty S2s are the same exact guitar as the McCarty for the core line, with the exception of two things. Number one, the violin carve is not as deep, and probably more importantly, and number two is the pickups are the S line of the same pickups. But the guy that plays them, that does all the demos for him, said he has a hard time. And you heard the demos that I did when I had the two. It is hard to tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, they're very close. To find I think you could probably feel the difference more than you could tell the difference sonically.
Right. Yeah. That's really what it's going to come to. It's feel. But if you never had the American line, you're not going to miss the American line when you're playing the S series of those pickups.
I'm reflecting on some things here. As far as I guess, the S2 line's fine. And that's fine. I just don't, I know PRS people are going nuts about the McCartys. I'm not a huge fan of the McCarty. So I just kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, great. They're doing McCartys now. They're doing new McCartys.
Yep.
PRS doesn't really put out stuff that excites me too much. Custom 24s, custom 22s, kind of my thing. In terms of, I like the CE line. Obviously, we've talked about it on the show dozens of times. I want to see some different woods, in the production models. I don't want mahogany and flame maple, and I want maple on maple. That would be a great option for some of the stuff. Maybe rosewood necks, and stuff that's a little bit more exotic than what you would get out of your traditional S2, which is something that I feel like they want to reserve that for the core line. They feel like they have enough of a market and enough people that will just buy the core and pay the artist package price to get these weird things. But I don't mind the weird things existing at a $1,000 to $1,500 price point. I would pay a little bit more for the special editions, and if they did them once, one off every other year or something, I don't care about the signature models. I honestly, if there's one thing in this industry that we can do away with right now, is signature models that have come out past 1970. I don't care about a single one of them. I don't. Even the artists I like, I don't. That's the only one that I would even consider buying because it's kind of transcended the signature thing is the gem. I feel like I pigeonhole myself if I buy a signature guitar because I buy a guitar that's set up to this particular artist spec. And in reality, I'm a different person and I have my own set of preferences and I'm used to doing things my own way. And that's not to say I haven't owned signature guitars. In fact, I own one right now. But I just get away from that. PRS is so stuck on it right now. Every guitar is a signature model. They got the Dusty Warrington signature now, and they got all the Mark Tremonti stuff. And,
don't even know it. The Tremonti.
Even we can go.
The DTG is David Grissom.
David Grissom. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
He was Mellencamp's guitar player, but he played for several people. He's best known.
The Dusty Waring, Mark Holcomb.
Never heard of it.
John Mayer, of course, and then which the John Mayer kind of makes sense. I know there's enough fans of him to do it. Doesn't Jason Aldean have a signature from them now?
Santana, I think Santana has a model with them. I think it's called Santana.
Again, he's another artist that kind of transcends. But again, I wouldn't buy his guitar. I know, and that sounds awful, right? I wouldn't buy a Santana. Like, I would rather just make a what they call a double cut, and just call it a double cut.
Yeah,
and stop calling it a Santana model, and you'll sell. I guess you'll sell more of them doing that.
I think the reason that Paul called it the Santana in the beginning, let's face it, look at where it was. He was truly the only real big adopter of PRS at the time. And without Santana, that company wouldn't exist. That's number one. And number two, and probably more importantly, is Santana was playing SGs, and that guitar at the time was pretty damn close to an SG. And so it was a way to go, look, it's
I
not
thought
an
he
SG.
was playing Yamahas when.
Oh, yeah, that's right. By that point, he was playing Yamahas. In the beginning, he was an SG guy, right? Well, he played, Les Paul's an SG.
So in the SC line, there is, let me count them. 1.
And here's what's funny:
2,
as far as the SC line, the only
6, 7, 8, 9, 9 signature models. And you know how many signature artists are?
The only two I can name.
There's like 3 signature artists in the SE line.
Yeah. The only SE or the only signature guys from PRS I can name are Mayer, Santana, and Tremonti. And I'm not crazy about the Tremontis. You know what? You know why I don't like the Tremontis? I love the body shape. I love the fact that they put it there. I don't like Tremonti's pickups.
No.
I can't stand them.
All right, so then if we look at the S2 line, how many signature models are there? None, I don't think. No, there's no. Right now, there is currently no signature S2s. If we go in core series, how many are there?
Yeah, because the McCartys are not signatures. They're named after a guy who didn't even work for PRS.
Gibson.
I'm saying that for other people. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know why they're called?
I take this back. They're not doing the signatures like they were. I think they've realized that. Yeah, because they were churning out. Everybody got a signature guitar. You get a signature guitar. Get a signature guitar. Any of their artists. And now it's like they backed off on that.
Yeah, David Grissom model is still out there. The Mayer model is still out there. The Tremonti model is still out there. And the Santana model is still out there. That's it. And honestly, they've scaled back a lot. You don't hear a lot of people playing the Santana models as much. It's just they're out there, but other than Santana.
Yeah.
But he's still an ambassador, so to speak, for PRS.
Yeah, he's in retirement, basically. I mean, and I get that. They have several signature artists on acoustic now too, which is interesting. Yep.
For a while, they had Alex Lifeson.
He's still listed as an acoustic artist, signature artist. Yeah.
Oh, he is.
I don't know. PRS is not really they're just not exciting to me anymore. And I think it's just a lot of this stuff's not exciting to me anymore. We do have podcasts where we spend probably 70 to 80% of the time talking about gear, and I don't care about gear anymore.
Yeah, so I want to wait, because that's my last point.
Yeah.
Right here. So one of the things, John Bott got a hold of me today. We were texting back and forth, and I had seen a couple of videos about this. You know how I get? I am that person, right? I'm the person they target because new thing.
Yeah,
look,
shiny object.
Cool. Right.
That's Jim.
But I recognize that in myself, and I really do have to spend. I'm not going to do a year of no gear because that's ridiculous. I'm going to go to Sweetwater and I'm going to get something. But I'm going to do this. I'm not going to buy a guitar for you. That's my promise to myself. There's no guitar that's going to come out. Well, except
here we go.
maybe. Hold on. Maybe one of the Epiphone Les Pauls, and that's only if I'm in a band where I need a Les Paul on stage. Right now, I'm thinking my SG and my Ultra are going to be my stage guitars. But here's the thing. So here's what I'm going at. Although I do want to try out all those Epiphones, I don't necessarily need to bring one home. Those are puppies that could go to somebody else's house. The thing I want to do this year, and I only want to buy one more pedal, and that's going to be one little delay pedal, and that's going on my board. That's for I made it. I showed it to you. The travel board.
I'm
I bought a
giggling
Metro
because because Jim's like, oh, I'm not going to buy any gear. I'm not going to, but except for this and this and this and this. Just wait until you until you get all that stuff first, and then say, I'm kind of done for a while.
Yeah. No. So I want to spend a year waiting, because the year I want to spend waiting, obviously we've got a lot of things we're going to do. We're going to go to Sweetwater. We want to meet up in Nashville. We want to do possibly do NAMM next year. So there's a lot of things that I want to save up to do a Satriani thing, because if I do that Satriani thing, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do the one where you get a guitar, he signs it. So anyway, here's my thing. I wish David Gilmour would do that. Wish David Gilmour would have one of those. I would pay $10,000 to put David Gilmour on. I'd go broke. I'd put a mortgage on my home to go to.
Yeah, Jim would.
I really
He's
would.
not lying.
I really would. Because I mean, there's only going to be one more chance to go see David Gilmour. Like, let's face it, that would be the real thing. And I saw him many times with Pink Floyd. I've never seen David Gilmour solo. But anyway, let's get out of it. The marketing, and you and I are, and John's conversation today with me are proof of that. So John and I were talking, and John was like, I don't need anything else, but damn it, they're making me want it, right? That's not the word he used. I probably used damn it. But the point is, all right, folks, this is where we get rated R, hide the children,
hide your kids, hide your wife,
or skip past and stuff. Right. I'm just going to say, they want you. I may say a word. I'm not actually maybe going to say it, but just in case. They want you to have every effing thing that you can possibly get. And right now, what they're doing is they're doing this the same way a lot of companies, when they create shoes for kids, right? The new Nikes, when they're creating all this other stuff, the new phones, the new they're marketing gear the way that they're marketing the new Samsung phone or the iPhone that I just got, right?
Just like Neuro.
The new MacBook computer. The new you got to have this new car. Look at all these features. You got to have this. And it's funny because it goes back to an old song by the Rolling Stones. You know, that person can't be as cool as me because they don't wear the same shirt I wear. They don't smoke the same cigarettes I smoke. Okay, those are lyrics from one of their songs. I don't remember.
He's not encouraging you to smoke cigarettes. If you do, fine, no, but he's not
definitely not. Yeah, I don't smoke. I don't put anybody down that does. I just do it. I've never done it. So, but the point is that they are creating an atmosphere, and Anderton's kind of bought into it. They were talking about colors because they were talking about that color that PRS put out. Sort of, it is no longer about the guitar and the functionality and what it can do for you. It is about
what did I do? Yeah.
Yeah. Pedals. Because PRS, Paul Reed Smith himself said, I can put this guitar into a tuner, into the amp. He goes, and that's how I play when I play on stage. And that guy does play on stage. And so, you know, I'm sure his cover band gets paid more than mine. But anyway, point is that when you do this, we got to, and I'm guilty of it. Okay, got to think: do I really need this? Today I went to look at delay pedals, right? Because I wanted to buy a delay. So I went to look at delay pedals, and I went, I'm not ready to buy. I said to myself, I'm not ready to buy for two reasons. One, I am not actively in band. That probably won't happen.
This is the first time,
and number two,
you had this realization, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And number two, and probably more importantly, I said to myself, you know what you're going to do? You're going to buy one you don't like because you're not really ready.
You think you are, but then you end up, that's how you buy crap.
That's right.
Like. Marketing wants you to believe you are ready, but you're not.
Because I wasn't sure, and this was the two. I wasn't sure, do I want the carbon copy deluxe or do I want the ethereal for my little pedal board? And I'm like,
you want a Strymon.
Oh, yeah, I got to have a Strymon. And it's got to be, is it the big?
Well, if we're talking
not
about
the big
marketing,
sky,
maybe
though.
that's what we should talk about. Because that's what this is about, is how the companies, they addict you to their stuff. And the way that they do it is with slick marketing. And we buy into this marketing. And all of a sudden, we have this moment where we go, I have to have this to solve a problem I don't really even have. And I've been guilty of it many times. My tone is not good enough. I need to have this because it's going to make my tone complete. It's in my head.
Like an Ethos Drive.
We're going to get to that. That's where I'm going to be a hypocrite at the end of the show. And actually, I was going to talk about.
But wait a minute. Yeah. So I've been telling myself recently, all right, you have everything except the right, because I have a Squire Telecaster. Everything but the right Telecaster.
Bullshit.
That's right. Bullshit. That is absolutely right. That's the part where we should have had you hiding your kids' ears. It's BS because the fact of the matter is you don't need that freaking Telecaster, Jim. You've got a Stratocaster. It's the Ultra. You have that Tele sound good enough for what you're doing. You have the SG, which is enough of a Les Paul for what you're doing. You don't need anything
folks,
else.
I want to point out that Jim is being incredibly practical. He is living the spirit of the show right now, and I'm so excited for him.
And podcasters and
we're part of that marketing machine.
Are a part of that marketing machine, and more importantly, except for 5 Watt World with Keith Williams, by the way,
yes.
Listen to 5 Watt World.
Or if you listen to us and you hear us poo-poo every piece of gear that we talk about on the show, like we did tonight.
That's right. I'm poo-pooing my own gear. Here's my thing. You know, my Marshall's good enough for everything that I'm doing. I don't need another amp. I don't need a different amp. I don't need anything else. And yet, what do I have? I have a Katana. I've had 5.
Yeah.
5, 6. I don't know. And so when you
have sold gear because of the marketing hype.
I have. And then bought gear.
You realize
rebought it,
or you realize that the marketing hype wasn't just hype and that you made a mistake. And I've done that, which leads me to the Ethos.
Right. That's right. But let me before you get to the Ethos, because I think that's important. I think that's extremely important. I think that's where we should bring this part of the conversation to an end. I sat down today, and much like Keith Williams, because what I was telling about the YouTubers, every time you see a YouTuber, what have they got behind them? There are shelves of pedals. Yeah,
that pedal show we're talking about you specifically.
And there are stacks of guitars. You look at. I don't care, and I'm not putting anybody down. So Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum and Blake from what's Blake's
Chasing
show?
Not Chasing Tone. That's one of
Chasing
them. That's Wampler.
No,
yeah,
he's on one of them, right? And Wampler. I'm not putting anybody down. Wampler has to do that. The Tone Mob. Thank you. Not putting any of that down. I'm definitely not. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, because people see that, it is a marketing machine. It says, look at me. I have 40 guitars and I'm not even that good. So you should have 40 guitars because you're not even that good. I mean, because the first person that will tell you he's not that good is Ryan. I'm not saying he's not good.
No, he got to play some surf rock on Steve Vai's guitar the other night. That's all I'm saying. He got to play Flow 3.
Right. He's a great guy. We love Ryan, obviously. What I'm saying, though, is when you see that and you see these people, Philip McKnight, who's the guy?
Any of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's just a wall of pedals and a wall of guitars. And you're thinking to yourself, I don't have a wall of guitars. I don't have a wall of pedals. I'm not a good guitar player.
No.
Find that one. David Grissom. Now we talked about the PRS signature guy. Do you know why the David Grissom model exists? Because David Grissom wanted one guitar to do it all. One ring to rule them all. That's what he wanted. And so he went with Paul and he went, this is what I need that guitar to do. I don't want to carry a Tele and a Strat and a Les Paul and an SG and a blah, 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 blah. Make a guitar that can do it all for me. That's what Paul did.
I think everything Jim's just said is extremely valid. I would hype what Jim is saying strongly. I think you're absolutely on to the truth of this industry, which is that we get impaired into these decisions that we need all these different things. It's fine to want them, regardless of what level player you are. As long as it's within your means, like that's okay. But do it for the right reasons. Do it because you really love it and because you really want it. Don't do it because the subconscious little voice that's in the back of your head that you're not really like, even listening to is going, wow, that's really cool. You should get one. You should get one. Stop and think about what you're going to do with it. I know a lot of people who've bought multiple guitars and don't play a note. Again, there's nothing wrong with a collector, but if you're not, and they weren't within their means, and if you're not within yours, don't do it. It's dangerous. Exactly. This is a dangerous hobby. I can't stress that enough.
It's an expensive hobby. It's an expensive hobby. And I hear people talk about gas and they joke about it and everything else. I do the same thing. And I was caught up in the hype. And remember last year we talked about doing the year of no gear. And honestly, that's why I can't lie to myself. I need a delay pedal. That's it, folks. Need a delay pedal. It's the only thing I need. So
I went 6 months, I think. I mean,
yeah, you did.
And it was both a traumatic and non-traumatic experience. And it made me a smarter person because even now I don't find myself like pining for stuff. I mean, I do, but it's like, I can wait. And I'm fine telling myself that I don't need it right now. Like when a need arises, then I'll get it. And fortunately, my financial situation is turning around pretty quickly, and that's going to be a better reality for me. Is like, okay, so I need this cabinet for this gig. I'll just go buy one, rather than being like, I need a cabinet, for a gig that I don't have yet, and I just want it so bad that I'm gonna tell myself I need it and then go get it. That's the trick, is not telling yourself a story, right? So that brings me. I'm going to switch gears. That brings me to the Ethos. So last week, I reported that the Ethos was coming back to me. It was a pedal that I had a little bit of an emotional attachment to, as well as a strong desire to play that sound again. And it came back to me. I demoed it on the YouTube, not the YouTube channel, the Facebook group. Briefly, the tones weren't great on the group. The night before, I played my open mic set for that night, which the open mic was canceled on this gym, which was the 2-band modeler TM300 from Behringer, plugged directly into my interface and then streaming directly to Facebook, and it sounded atrocious. And it sounds, so the video made it sound worse than it is, but it sounds bad. And I got my Ethos and I plugged it in, and my eyes lit up, and everything was fine again. And actually, I mounted it to my board. I went to a jam that night with it. And I have to say, I played the whole night with that pedal on the drive channel, with, various other pedals on my board plugged into it. I enjoyed the freedom of having everything at my fingertips and reaching down and turning knobs when things weren't quite going the way I wanted them to, and not having to scroll through menus in between songs and do all this other happy stuff that people talk about why they don't like modelers. My Kemper's not going anywhere. Like, does the Ethos sound better? Subjectively, I would say they're on par with one another. The only drawback to the Ethos is it generates more noise. There's no built-in noise gate on an Ethos Overdrive, and you still need a direct box. There's a couple little like gotchas there, right? It's a very expensive piece of equipment. It's $715 new with all the mods, which I have. I didn't pay that for this, but I will say that between when I bought it and when I bought it now, I spent north of $1,000. Of course, I sold it and made some of that money back. So the joke is, of course, this is a over $1,000 overdrive now at this point. But that's why I want to preface this. Like, I didn't buy this because of the hype machine. I did originally. I kind of said, I want to treat myself. I want to get something really expensive that nobody else has. And of course, I like the Dumble sounds. Like, I listen to Robin Ford and people like that. But I didn't know what I was getting when I bought it. I couldn't try one out. That was a total pig in a poke. and it was $675 when I bought mine. So stop and think about that. That was a terrible decision. I hadn't played a gig in years when I bought mine, but I kept telling myself, if I buy this, if I get the right piece of gear, I'm going to play out. I'm going to play out. Do you know what? Do you know why I actually started playing out? And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I started playing out because the guys from GearFest last year pushed me to do it. They're like, you're going to buy all this stuff, and then you're just going to sit in your bedroom with it. And they're like, I want to hear that you're playing out with it. And Nick, after a month we'd been back, he sent me a message. He said, how's that Kemper sound live? And I had to balk. And I had to tell him I hadn't used it. And that's what did it. That was the kick in the ass I needed. And now I'm playing all the time. At least once a week. And I mean, out. I'm obviously playing at home. I play at home constantly. But having the Ethos now is going to make my life so much better and so much more convenient. I don't have to, when I'm coming in at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning from an open mic or jam, I don't have to roll a giant cart out of my car into the house, up a flight of stairs, down a flight of stairs, into my condo, try to keep it quiet so I don't wake my neighbors and piss everyone off and wake up everybody in my house. And it sounds as good as the Kemper, and it accomplishes a goal of mine, and that's basically to make me able to play out more. I don't feel like that's money poorly spent. Now, could I have bought other things that could have enabled me to do those things? Probably. But would I have been satisfied? That's a good question. And so I think there are times where it's okay to spend a little bit more money and kind of take a step back from your situation. Say, I can splurge a little bit. But I also think you need to be pushing yourself in the right direction. Don't do what I was doing and, hide from it. So that's my 2 cents. The review of the Ethos is it's great. If you're thinking about buying one, save your money. If you really want one and get one, I think you'll be happy. But understand what you're getting, and I can't stress that enough. It's because it's a pedal that you could easily buy and realize that you have no use for it whatsoever.
I think look at my hair.
I don't think our audience can see your hair, Joe.
I think the audience can't.
That's probably
crap.
for the
It's a good thing because it's all over the place, folks. It looks like I look like a mad scientist.
He looks like Thomas Blue.
Yeah, I do. So I want to piggyback or kind of bookend what you were saying, because I think it's important. The 2 pieces of gear I went. Well, okay, 3 pieces of gear I went back to. Okay, are 4. Sorry, 4 pieces of gear I went back to. Wow, that's weird. Are the ones that I started with and went back to. My Les Paul, my SG, okay, my Marshall DSL, my Katana.
How many? We've talked about this on the show before. You owned like 7 or 8 over $1,000 instruments in the 2 years we've been doing this show, possibly more than that.
Yep.
And you're back to basically using the same stuff you started with.
Same exact gear I started out with. My Strat. All I did was change one Strat for another. I went to thinking, and of course, bought into the hype. Thought I needed an HSS. I did not need an HSS. Not only did I not need an HSS, folks, I'm going to tell you this: I didn't like it. So, now whether it's because I had the wrong HSS, it doesn't matter. I didn't like it. I didn't find the utility in it. I think a Strat should be a Strat. I think a Les Paul should be a Les Paul. I think a SG should be an SG. I don't think that but that's me. That's me. The Marshall DSL puts out all the tone I need. Honestly, I bought the Angry Driver from David, by the way, recently.
Yeah,
right.
So. A month and a half ago.
So, how about the Angry Driver from David? The only reason I got it was to put it on a pedal board for me to take to open mics. Okay, so I've got my Angry Driver. That pedal board right now is made up of. The only thing I bought for it was a miniature version of the. Well, I guess it's not the Slash that I have, which is really the crybaby with a different cue.
You said
But
GCB
so I got a
95 is
big,
what you got or whatever.
yeah, I got a dinky little crybaby on there. I bought a miniature crybaby so that everything fits on the little board. The idea was to put everything on the little board. So a TU2, the Boss TU2, uh, the crybaby, the angry driver, and now all I'm getting is probably an ethereal. I'm thinking an ethereal for the board. That's it.
Well,
done.
Um,
And if I don't get the ethereal, it might be the carbon copy, regular.
you know,
carbon
I
copy.
can't. I think today. So I want to do a brief little commentary. We're both putting together open mic stuff, right? Like jam stuff or whatever.
Right.
I think guitarists of yesteryear, when they go to these things, would go completely bare bones. And they would play through whatever amp was available and do these things. And I think we're a little bit more cognizant that, you know, that's harder to do. It's easier to, you know, to vibe with what you like and what you have. And so we put together these little things. But I think the tendency is for a lot of people to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do the rig that I play live. It's the same when I take the open mic. I don't see how you're doing that. If you're playing as much as I am, I don't see how you're doing that. Because it's hard.
Yeah, even musicians who were relatively famous, they would have cartage, and so in the days,
they just call somebody up and say, "Hey, I got a downbeat at 3," and everything's there.
Yeah, and everything is there and set up and tuned. They had a tech, did all that stuff. And because of that, they could have 4 of the same rigs because they had cartage. You don't have cartage. I don't have cartage. Even Pete Thorne was talking about it. He's never had cartage. And that guy is obviously had a few gigs. I heard he had 1 or 2 gigs.
Yeah, some big ones. Yeah,
people we've probably never heard of, right? Yeah,
some small club dates, that kind of thing.
You know, yeah. But on a serious note, you know, that's the stuff that, you know, we look at. So anyway, here's my point that I wanted to get to as far as bookending. So the one thing I almost bought into, I didn't, was when they brought out the Stratocaster version of the Acoustasonic. I was like, wow, that's the one thing. That's the only thing that Fender brought out, and I went, wow, that's really cool. And then I said, you know what? If I didn't already have a decent acoustic, I would want that. But right now, and for anything I would do, I don't see it. Now, if I ever did a gig where I needed acoustic to travel, do a lot of traveling with, I'd probably get it. But right now, my Hummingbird,
I think it's a really expensive toy myself. I think the Telecaster version of the Acoustasonic is also a very expensive toy. I think, they definitely have applications. Like I listened to Danish Pete talk about, you know, if I was playing a gig where I was mostly playing electric guitar and then we had like 2 songs where I needed to play an acoustic, that would work. And I agree.
Yep.
But I don't think it's ideal. And I mean, you can get similar sounds with a piezo and an IR thing, a box, you know. The Kemper is now going to have an IR simulator built into it when that finally launches. And I have a feeling that little sneak attack is also going to include the drives that they've been quietly working on for a long time and have not made any announcements about because they don't want, they're tempering expectations. I have a feeling all that stuff's going to come to fruition all at once. And we're in an exciting time. If NAMM should teach you nothing else, we're to the point where we can have things like that neural DSP announced, that the Amp 1X, all of the other crazy products that come out of the NAMM show and can be like, this is boring. That's how inundated with like exciting technology and music stuff we are right now. If you can take yourself back, and this is the thought I want to leave our listeners with. Jim, if you got final thoughts, you can of course share. But this is my final thought for the show, and that is, take yourself back to like the early 70s when the Big Muff first came out. And that was like a big deal because it was like, the first distortion pedal.
That was huge.
You know what I mean? Even though it's not really the first
Yep.
distortion, we all know like there's fuzzes that go back way before that into the late 50s. It's the first distortion pedal, and people were using it like a distortion pedal, and it was like most people were playing cleanup until that point because they didn't know how to make their amps sound like that unless they turned them up really loud. That would have been an exciting thing. The Rockman, which John Pott shared that wonderful article in our group about, the Rockman first launch. Yeah,
I own one, and I've got it in a box.
But that's look, that was innovative technology. We are surrounded by that crap. That's commonplace now, and we're completely numb to it.
Yeah, what's funny is the Rockman did a lot of what a lot of these pedals do. This is what's funny about the Rockman, because like I said, I own one. It does a lot of what a lot of pedals do. I mean, it's literally a multi-pedal in a box. If anybody doesn't know what a Rockman was, it was where it was the portable version.
It was the first headphone
Rockman
amp, and it predated all the other Rockman products.
Yep, and it was the Marshall tone that Tom Schultz got in a studio for a lot of his layered guitars. That's what makes people freak out. I mean, we've talked about that on the show. And it's the size of the pedal. It's like literally you could stick it in your pocket. Yeah, it's double the width of a cell phone, and it's about the size of a if you had long cigarettes, it'd be that size. That'd be it. It is not big. It is really small. It is really simple inside. Schultz made millions on that damn thing.
I would venture that's how he kept afloat when Boston was between records.
Yeah, because he would put years.
He didn't put years between records. He stopped making records for like 20 years, and then they did Boston 3.
Well, yeah.
I'm sick and tired of people being like, it took him 20 years to do Boston 3 or whatever. No, it didn't. They didn't work on it. They didn't do anything to it. Yeah, he was doing other stuff.
He's a scientist that could also play guitar. I mean, the guy was an MIT grad.
When Polaroid was a development house.
Yeah, he was Thomas Blug. And he played almost all. Well, he played all the stringed stuff. He played the bass and he played all the guitars. And there were layers of guitars. There were layers of bass. He used 3 or 4 bass layers. That's why bass players are always frustrated when they're trying to cover Boston, because there's
he was also using ADT as well. He had his own ADT system.
Yep. So he built his own studio. He built
his own 4-track recorder.
He was one of the first guys.
That was a lunatic.
Yeah. Yeah. The other ones were
he was inspired by Les Paul. Let's be honest.
Yes, he was. He was one of the first guys to invent something that was like what an aux is today. I mean, he invented a way to put his Marshall head into a direct in without having
he could record at night.
I can't load these tubes. How do I do it? Yeah, how can I load these tubes? Because he was working in Bobby. That first album, he was kind of like living at home type thing. He was a young guy. But I want to get back to what you said, and that is that let's not buy into the hype. Let's create a group of people that are not buying into the hype this year. Let's do it. Let's create a year, not a year of no gear, but a year of sensible gear, a year of no hype. Let's just get it, because don't tell us you got it because it was pretty. Don't tell us because, unless that was the reason you got it. Tell us you got it because you got it because of what you wanted. Was it pretty? Was it because your wife liked the color? Because your kid, it's named after your kid? It's the same year as your dog was born? I mean, those are the cool, the fine things to buy something. Not because YouTube.
Not because everybody else wants it.
So-and-so told you to buy it. Right. Which means that no one is going to want us as spokespersons.
Have we ever really tried to solicit a sponsorship, Jim? No.
So, and the point I'm making is that let's be that group. Let's be those people this year. Let's be those people. Let's make it so that we can go to a NAMM we can go to a the Sweetwater event and still walk away with the same money we walked in our pocket. With maybe
my whole thing is that, like, I'm buying stuff I need. I'm not buying stuff I want. And I think if we all do that, we'll save a lot of money. I think the other part is you'll gain a lot of self-respect. I am so stupid because I sold that Ethos, and it was pure pressure. That's why I sold it.
You are so lucky you got that back for the same money you spent. You got for it. Pretty much.
I know how lucky I am, and that's the best story I got right now.
Yeah, because there's guitars and stuff I've sold I could never get back. That bass guitar that I wanted or that I loved, I'll never get that back. I can't say never. It will take me, like, I would have to hire somebody like Trogley to sit there and watch the stuff go. But I don't have that kind of time. Oh, there's that bass Jim wanted. Buy it. I have that kind of time. And right now I don't have the need. So I wouldn't hire him in.
Well, with that, I have been David.
I've been Jim.
And tonight we've been the Practical Guitarists.
Yes, we have.